Hi everybody and welcome to the Mental Toughness and Body Show. My name is Rob Evans and I'm your weight loss coach, health strategist and internationally published author, helping take your life, your business, your health, fitness, body and mindset from where you are right now to where it is that you really want to be. And today I'm going to talk to you about a really important topic, which is risk mitigation. Now, as we evolve, we find that we're faced with different circumstances, different consequences, and when it comes to your day-to-day operations, you can find that over time, things might change. Now, I can tell you that one of the things that is really topical in our community right now is sexual harassment and inappropriate conduct. And why is that? Well, because if you follow if you're on the other side of the world and you follow any of the Australian news, you'll know that at the highest level in our Parliament House here, a young girl, 16-year-old, has made allegations, well, she's not 16 now, but when she was 16 years old in 2019, I think it was, she's made some allegations that she was raped in an office in Parliament House, just a few offices down from the Prime Minister and the Prime Minister's office. And since that's been made, there's been further allegations against the same person who hasn't been named yet that have come out, the inappropriate conduct and that kind of stuff. Since then, we've had other allegations being made against another minister, the Attorney General, in fact. This one's dating back 33 years, similarly a rape allegation. Now, it's unfortunate in some ways that we've come to the world that we live in right now. I mean, as soon as you make an allegation, the person is immediately treated as guilty. And that's not to demean the fact that there are a lot of women out there, and some men too, but a lot of women out there that are inappropriately spoken to. There are rapes, there is inappropriate words, there's inappropriate conduct, that there's just no room for it in this day and age. There really isn't. I don't tolerate it at all. But we also need to be careful as business people when we're dealing with people that we don't put ourselves in vulnerable positions. I find myself sometimes in situations where I am working one-on-one with people, now whether it's over Zoom or whether it's in person. I've become a lot more aware in recent times of the situations that you're in and the fact that, well, yes, you're alone in your business premises with someone else. And there is an opportunity for somebody to make an allegation against you, which could be completely false. But because it's just you and them, who is to say that you're right and the other person is wrong? So just of I would say the last 12 months, I'm a lot more aware of it. So what that means is that how do we mitigate that risk? So what I'm actually having done here to help me mitigate is put security cameras in place. So every single activity that takes place in my studio is recorded. So therefore there can be, people can make allegations, but I've got the video proof that there was no inappropriate conduct. So it's unfortunate that we've come to that. However, what the purpose of this recording is, I just think we need to have a heightened level of awareness about, obviously here I'm talking about risk mitigation with respect to conduct and so forth, but you need to make sure that you put measures in place to protect yourself. This is just one of them. We have obvious ones like insurances. One of the ones that I've taken out over the last 12 months is cybercrime insurance. Something I'd never considered before this last 12 months, but because of the amount of activity that I do online, the fact that I'm working with people internationally, the fact that my profile is raising, you can be a target. I've had to make sure that I take out that insurance. I've got all the other insurances as well. I make sure that I back up, not just to the cloud, that I've got my desktop that's backed up to alternate sites as well, because you think that your stuff is safe in the cloud, but what can happen is you can have a file that, I'm no IT expert, but this is what my IT experts tell me, you can have a corrupt file that gets into the cloud and corrupts all your files, and then you've lost all your data. However, if you have your data backed up externally to an external site through a provider, you will only lose, let's just say that you upload a corrupt file today and it destroys everything you've done today. You can back up to yesterday, but you can't do that in the cloud. But you can do that if you've got it backed up externally, because it's backed up every single day. So that's the difference. So that's something else to consider. And I only found that out because I was about to cancel that service, and my IT people said, no, it's good to have it backed up to the cloud. However, what I just told you. So really important to consider those things. Obviously, when it comes to your own physical safety as well, I mean, I've gone through stages where I've had a serious hater involved with me, and I've had to get the police involved, I've had to get lawyers involved, I've also had to get tighten up my physical security of my premises as well, my home and my studio, which has involved putting security system in, which has involved putting like strengthened security doors on all entrances, making sure that the windows are locked, all of those kinds of things, as well as some other things that I'm not going to talk about, but just to increase your your personal protection. I'm not talking about like guns, because we can't own guns here in Australia, but just other steps that I've taken to make sure that I'm prepared. And it's not carrying weapons. It's just my physical skills that I've developed. So things like that, again, risk mitigation. Now, it's unfortunate that we live in these situations, but unfortunately, we've got to make sure that we can mitigate our own risk. And there's a lot that you need to put in place. It's planning, it's business continuity. If nothing else, that COVID has taught us that we need to make sure that we have business continuity plans in place. I mean, simple things like if you lose electricity to your property, then yes, these days, a lot of our stuff, if you're using a laptop and that kind of stuff, and your phone and everything, then obviously you're going to have a number of hours where you've still got your charging your computer and everything, and you can still work. But like your Wi-Fi is going to drop out, but you can still have it with your phone. So that's okay. But what happens if you lose connectivity to a tower because the tower goes down, or a network goes down, which does happen, certainly in our country. It normally isn't for long, but it can go out. So what is your contingency planning around those things? We're susceptible to bushfires in my area here. So what is your plan for a bushfire? What is your plan for a flood? What is your plan for, a whole range of different things? And this isn't about becoming a doomsday prepper, but it is about making sure that you have a solid business continuity plan for things that happen. Like I said, COVID, I needed to make sure that I had a plan in place to be able to still run my business. So again, my studio here could burn down. Does that stop me from providing services? No. Does it drastically have an impact? Well, yes, it will, but I can still run my business I could, for instance, go to one of the local gymnasiums here, and I could enter into a short-term contract with them to take on my clients through there, pay them a fee. Yes, it's inconvenient and all that kind of stuff, but I can still run my business. I can still Zoom. COVID came. What could I do? Well, created a whole range of new services and products so that I could still work with people, and it opened up opportunities that I'd never seriously considered before or thought would be viable because of my mind, mind blocks that, well, no one's going to want to work with me if they live around the corner and they're going to be in their garage and I coach them via Zoom. But COVID forced people to think differently and accept that there's a different way of doing things than they're used to. So again, had a plan for that. Making sure that you have got everything covered in terms of your employees. Now, I run a small business. I'm sure if you run a much bigger business, then you'll have somebody in your human resources department that is going to be responsible for taking care of all those things. So for me, I've got a work cover in place for my employees, making sure that everything is in place there. I work with part of my team is internationally, so again, making sure that I'm taking care of things with them, putting some measures in place so that they can't corrupt big parts of my business and have a negative impact. So you've got to be constantly thinking. And so my latest one is actually in 2 days' time. The security cameras are going in place here. It's just been something at the pointy end of my mind recently, and I suppose everything that's been happening nationally amongst our politicians has just made me think that really I need to have these things in place, whether it's somebody that says that they injure themselves or somebody that makes up stories about something that happened here. Well, we've got the physical evidence to show people that, well, this is what's happened. And at the same time, it means I can put security on the outside of the premises as well, just to provide some more comfort. We have had some increase in crime in the area. So it's just another step to help provide another element of security. So in my past business life, my last role was actually as a business continuity manager. So managing risk is always something that has been at the forefront of my mind. I quite like that side of what I need to do. Another element which we often don't take into consideration is just when we're out in public. And I guess because of the nature of my roles in the past, the subject of a early podcast that I did in this series was about when I foiled 3 drug dealers from abducting one of my staff members many years ago. And so since that moment, I guess I have a much more, heightened level of awareness of what is happening around me when I'm out in public. We have a few gangs within kilometres of where I am living, and my estate is quite safe, but we have had crime in my street committed by these gangs, and our local shopping precinct has had a couple of instances at the supermarket from some gangs. And so when I am out and about and with the kids and everything, simple things like I get in the car, lock the doors, because crime does happen, carjackings do happen at traffic lights and that kind of stuff, and you can be in another place and just somebody can creep up or jump out of another car, jump into your car, you just don't know. So simple little step. When I'm out and about, if I'm walking, I just always have this awareness of what's going on around me. My eyesight is quite short. I'm short-sighted, but you can still have vigilance about you, and you'll be surprised. I look at people's behaviour, their body language, their eyes. Are they just acting suspiciously? Just to see, okay, do I need to just remove myself from this situation or just keep an eye on that particular person? And that's how I helped catch the people that broke in to a few houses down here. I was down at the park, noticed some unusual behaviour, contacted my neighbour who's a policeman, took some video of the people in their car. He reached out to his colleagues. It was a stolen car. The plates didn't match the car, and they came and picked these people up. When I'm at the park, doing a boot camp, for instance, constantly doing 360-degree surveillance, because we're on a corner, we're in a park, there's been a couple of issues in the park over at the playground with some young girls being bashed to have their phones stolen and that kind of stuff. We can have some people that just look like they're intoxicated on something, walking past, sometimes walking through the park. And it's just about an awareness and making people aware of not letting their kids go into the playground area, making sure that people keep an eye on their phones, me just watching people and just looking for anything that's a little bit unusual. And sometimes there's safety in numbers, but it's up to me to just have a much more heightened level of awareness, especially when there's a number of people around, because you just never know. People are desperate and will do desperate things in desperate times. So we just have to be more careful. So I'm not telling you all of this to freak you out and not to be able to go out and just enjoy yourself. And it's not like I go out and I'm hyper tense and stressed about where it is I'm going. It's just really about just noticing things around you, and then taking your best efforts to protect yourself, protect the people you're with, protect your business, and just being safe, really, just being safe. And of course, I mean, as far as COVID goes, there's those obvious things. We, in our country here, we have a QR system. So every person that comes into the studio, they need to scan with their phone the QR code, and that just automatically logs them, registers them in for contact tracing should anything happen. So I've had that in place for a little while. Initially, it was me manually recording everybody. Then they brought out this sort of centralised QR code system, which is really, really easy. So I just get people to scan in, and again, that protects me, it protects them, it enables us to protect the community as well. If there is an outbreak, there's links there. So again, another really powerful step. So risk mitigation, so important. Hope what I've given you here today has given you some tips, maybe some reminders of things that you need to do. I'll tell you actually, last one, I run with the sessions that I run for people. I've got a number of people that are businesses, and some are small businesses. Now I encourage every small business to make sure that they register for, in our country called GST, and they get an ABN number, and do the right things to set themselves up as a proper business. Because what happened for those businesses that didn't do this during the huge waves, the huge length of shutdowns for COVID when we had the first and second lockdown. So last year, lockdown for 7.5 months. The support went to, more of the support, like the state government grants and everything, went to those that had set up a proper business. And so if you hadn't done that, then you missed out altogether. And there's a period of time where sole traders, there was no support for them. They had something called JobKeeper that was available here for some of the sole traders. But if you didn't set yourself up properly and make sure you got your insurances in place, make sure you got your ABN, you're registered for GST, making sure that you've got your work cover in place, you've got employees, then that enables you to get some of these grants. Now, I was eligible for those because of the fact that I worked in an industry that was completely forced to shut down, which was really quite cool. Again, what did I do? Made sure that when I started my business, I set myself up as a proper business, not a hobby. A lot of people that I won't say do what I do, because there's very few people that do what I do and do it in the way that I do, but people that call themselves trainers and coaches and stuff, they set themselves up like a hobby. You know, they do a lot of cash deals, so they don't have to, if you earn less than $75,000 here, you don't have to register for GST. If you earn over that, then you do have to register for GST. A lot of people just do it as a hobby. So they'll earn less than that, don't declare it. And they also won't be declaring a lot of their incomes. They'll say, oh, look, if you pay me cash, let's not worry about it. Which is illegal. That's illegal. Let's call it what it is. But a lot of people do it. But I don't. And I've set myself up right from the beginning. Even though I was, obviously when I first started, I was earning less than $75,000, but I knew that, well, it's only going to take me 12 months. I'm going to earn that. So register now. Set yourself up now. Get all your insurances now. Do all of that. So if anything ever happens, I know that I'm completely covered because this is my new life. So there's another simple one. I don't know what's available in your countries, but again, another thing, risk mitigation. Put yourself in the position so that you know if things happen that you're eligible for funding, for grants, for whatever it is that you may be eligible for. So stay safe as usual. And well, actually, before I go, the other one, which is the latest one, is COVID vaccine. Now, would you take that? Now, this is a very individual decision to make. And I've recorded a whole podcast on this, to vaccinate or not to vaccinate. What I would say is this. If I went to my doctor in a few weeks' time to get the flu shot, which I get the flu shot every year, just because many of my clients have many different kids that get many different illnesses through the year. I just look at it as an extra insurance. I've had it every year for the past, I don't know how many years now. It costs me, it's either free through my GP or it costs me $12. And it's a very, very cheap, simple insurance that I give myself so that I don't have any days off. I don't get sick. I haven't been sick for years. It just helps me from not getting the influenza through winter. So it normally comes, we're in March right now at the time of recording this. They're normally available April, May. Whether everything that's going on with COVID is going to impact the delay of those or not, I don't know. But my point is, if I went to my GP, who I have a really great relationship with, have for a long time, is a previous client of mine, really good guy. He looks after my health and what I need to have done really, really well. If I went to have my flu shot and he said, look, I've got a COVID vaccine here for you. He said, I think you should have it. He said, I've had one. It'll help protect you. Then I'd probably take it. Having said that, if it wasn't available and there are a lot of people out there that need it and I don't, then I would say, do you know what, I'm willing to wait 12 months. I think eventually I'll have it so that it'll enable me to, travel freely, go do whatever it is that, that I want to do and not have that as being a question. Think, oh man, I've got to go be tested on this. No, yeah, I've been vaccinated. Personal choice as to whether you think it's come out too fast, whether it's unsafe, which one to take, etc., etc. My feeling is there's never been more focus on one thing around the globe and more hours spent at any time in our history around a vaccine. If I could give it more time to wait before, to see what the longer term impacts are for people's health after a period of time, then I'd probably wait. But like I said, if it was available, he said, look, I've got one here, happy to give it to you. And he said, yeah, look, you'll have no problems with it. He knows my full medical history. Then I'd probably take it. So that's another one for you. Depending on which country you're living in, like if you're living in California or these areas that have been really, really hard hit, my suggestion would be if you have a compromised level of health, have it. Otherwise, use your best judgment and determine whether it's right for you. That's my last tip. Stay safe, stay happy. I'll see you tomorrow.